Hi, everyone. This is Dee Marley at the History Bards podcast. I am so excited to welcome our guest today is Len Boswell, and he is the author of Barnum's Angel, which was an award winner for this year's or 2023's HFC Book Awards. And so we are thrilled to have him on the show today. And just so the listeners can kind of get a little idea of who Mr. Boswell is, he's the author of 18 books, but we're specifically going to focus on Barnum's Angel today because it's such a remarkable book, and we want everybody to go out and buy it and read it because, like I said, it was an award winner. And Mr. Barnum, listen to me calling you Mr. Barnum. Mr. Boswell is actually an award winner and in a lot of his books. So we noticed Pencraft and also, what else were you award winner in for? Pencraft and for the American Fiction Awards. So, Mr. Bos, we would love to know a little bit more about you and your writing journey. So, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Sure, especially the writing journey.
Yes.
I retired in 2015, and I was a publishing executive.
Okay.
Uh, and I was on the other side of the publishing equation and
Uh-huh.
had always wanted to write. So in 2015, I started writing, and I've got 18 books now.
Yeah.
The first seven were self-published because I couldn't figure out how to do a query letter. But finally, I uh, came with came online with a small publisher who agreed to publish another series, which was the Simon Grave Mysteries series,
Yeah.
which was is a series of seven books so far, and it's a humorous uh, comic sci-fi fantasy futuristic series.
Okay.
Uh, but then, uh, but then I was happened to be reading uh, Darwin's Beagle Diaries, and as I read Darwin's Beagle Diaries, I noticed that there were times when he would write an entry like uh, went to the mainland for 3 days, and then there's no other entry about what he did. And I thought, well, what if he discovered a new species while I was on that trip?
Yeah.
And I was also reading 1421, the year China discovered America. And I tried to do a connection between China and Darwin and came up with Barnum's Angel, which is, I guess, the one elevator speech would be that uh, when Barnum went to Europe on his European tour
Right.
in 1845, he happened upon a freak show, and there was a little girl that had wings, and he thought that he could turn her into an attraction, his angel. But she wasn't an angel, and she wasn't a girl. She was something completely other. So
Wow.
that's the premise of the book, and I was so thrilled to get the award because this is the first historical fiction I'd ever done.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and having said that, the I spent 6 months researching before I put pen to paper, and what I discovered is that it was really hard work.
Yes.
Research is hard, but it's also rewarding. Rewarding
Yes.
when you come upon facts like uh, Emma Darwin, Charles Darwin's wife, was a piano student of Frederick Chopin,
Oh, wow.
and so I managed to work him into the book as well.
Uh, isn't
Uh,
that's always so fascinating whenever when you're doing research like that and you can find little tidbits like that that you can include in your book. I was going to ask you about that, about the research, and if with you including Darwin and Barnum, I'm sure you had to have come across even more fascinating tidbits. Would you like to share some with the audience?
oh, okay, on another character. I'm trying to think of his name. Oh boy, Inspector Field in the book. He's the one who conducts the investigation looking for the little girl whose name is Lily.
Mhm.
Uh, and he knew Charles Dickens personally.
Um,
Charles Dickens was an insomniac. And at night, he would go out onto the streets and walk around. And he ran into the Charles Field while he was walking. They would share the night, going to
Oh,
all these places where he picked up ideas for his characters. So Dickens has like a cameo role in this in the book.
oh, that's really fascinating that you were able to do that. So, can you tell me, like, I know you said that you were reading about him, right? And that's what kind of inspired you for this book. Is that right?
Right, right.
So,
Yes.
was there anything else that like pushed you towards writing about this particular era or these particular men?
Uh, no, actually not. I just as soon as I hit a couple of those instances in his diary where he just disappeared for 3 days, I said this could work out. What if he
Yes.
did discover it? And what if the species he discovered actually challenged his ideas about evolution?
Mm.
So so that's in there as well.
Yeah. Well, that's really, really fascinating. And I'm
But
sure,
all
people who are like interested in that era and also, we've got like this kind of leading from the former movie of Barnum about what was that movie that came out? Oh, The Greatest Showman.
right,
Whenever that came out, so that's kind
right,
of
right.
leads right into this for fans who love that era and things about because he was so like he was so fascinated
Yep,
in
yep.
those different um kind of quote freaks and to have in his show. Well, let me
Right.
ask you. So, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about the premise of the story
Sure.
without giving
Uh,
too much away?
so it's basic. Well, basically, uh, the Emperor of China uh, decides to send these ships out on what he called a treasure voyage, and they were to go out and not only collect things that they found, but also to leave behind evidence of their being there.
Hmm.
And so I thought to myself, well, I mean, when you think of China and new Chinese New Year's and stuff, you have to think of dragons.
Yeah.
So I thought, all right, so what if he sent along dragons in each of these ships?
Hmm.
And what would happen if one of those ships sank near near Tierra del Fuego, and the dragon and the man watching the dragon managed to make it to shore, and then 300 years later, uh, Darwin shows up and goes on his little 3 day trip and discovers a relative of that dragon, and the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest we want everybody to go out and buy the book. We don't want to give anything else away. That actually is like such a pull for people. I mean, dragons and the history and all of that. I think that will be a really good
Right.
pull for people to want to read the books. So let me ask you this. I know you said that some of your other books are also award winners. Can you tell us a little bit about the Simon Grave mystery books?
Okay. That series, all of my books seem to start with some whim that I have. I was watching a masterpiece theater locked room mystery.
Mhm.
In a locked room mystery, the victim is locked in a locked room. There's no evidence of how anyone could get in and get out, but the person is still dead. So I said, why don't we turn this around and have the victim outside the room and all the suspects inside the room. Uh, and also, so that's how that series began, and it's set in the 2050s. So I have
Oh,
a
okay.
lot of fun with various I have a lot of fun with various inventions that might be around,
Mhm.
and there are androids running around. I have one of the detectives is an android who looks like Charlize Theron. uh, and she thinks she's Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and so the first book did very well. I had no idea uh, about doing a series, but the publisher said you got to do a series. So I've just the seventh book in the series comes out in July, and that one is called Simon Grave and the Girl with the Crab Tattoo.
Okay.
The it's set in the whole series is set in a seaside town called Crab Cove, so thus the crab part of it.
Yeah.
But
So do
it's
you
fun to watch.
yeah. So do you have anything following up Barnum's Angel?
Yes, uh, the second book in the series is out,
Okay.
and it's called The Barnacle's Son. Uh, and it moves from Victorian England to modern day London with
Okay.
flashbacks to the Victorian times, introducing a whole new range of characters trying to deal with Lily and her brother. Her brother is also part of the mystery of people who are part dragon and part human.
Oh,
So
that's
the 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 title, The Barnacle Son, really refers to back to Darwin when he returned from his voyages. Uh, he had thousands of specimens, but the Geological Society still didn't think he was scientific enough to be admitted to their ranks. So he set about he said, I need a topic that I can focus on that nobody's done. And he focused on barnacles for something like 7 or 8 years. And one of the barnacles that he found a new barnacle as part of this process. Most barnacles glue themselves to a surface. You see them on boats and piers and so forth. But there is one particular species of barnacle that actually drills into its host. And
oh,
it has been shown scientifically that one of these members of the species likes crabs. And so, not to eat, but drills into a crab and controls the crab, tells the
oh,
crab where to go and what to do.
oh my goodness.
So, part of this, part of the whole beginning of the series was a barnacle. The emperor sends dragons' eggs along on the voyage, and to hide them from everyone, they have them in a net just below the surface of the water. And one of these barnacles comes and screws into it and changes it forever.
Oh, okay. Wow, that sounds amazing
It, it's it,
for people who really love.
that's the fantasy part.
Yeah, for people, I was fixing to say for people
If
who
you
love.
like fantasy, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for people who love
And
historical fantasy.
if you just right, and if you just love the history part, I was very careful to make everything as accurate as I possibly could, from what people how they were dressed over the 60-year period, how it changed. I had Emma Darwin going like a fashion model, going from dress to dress to dress as fashions change. What they ate, what they believed, all
Mhm.
of that. It was just
I was
every detail is good.
I was fixing to ask you that about the
It's correct.
challenge of combining historical and fantasy. Like, what kind of challenge is that to be able to do something like that?
It's a big challenge. The fantasy part is easy. You just make things up,
Yeah.
but you have to fit it into a real world, a world that existed. I mean, for example, every time Barnum and uh, Darwin and other characters appear together, they were actually together on those dates and those dates and times. They
Uh-huh.
had nothing to do with the fantasy, of course, but
Right.
they were there. They were meetings together and so forth. So it's just a matter of weaving it together.
Yeah. I bet you have to be like, I mean,
Sounds
I'm sure
simple, but
for,
it's not.
no, it's not. It's not. As historical fiction authors, we all have learned how to be very organized with our notes and everything. I'm sure that you have to do that as well.
Right. Well,
So,
yeah, I did. I did the upfront research, but I found that every day there's always something else to check on and double check.
yes, of course. So you said a little while earlier that you used to be in the publishing industry. So I'm sure you probably got some really good advice for new authors starting out in the historical fiction genre. So what could you tell like new writers today that are wanting to get into writing?
Oh boy, I don't know. There's so much dogma out there about writing that you have to do it a certain way,
Mhm.
that you have to avoid adverbs, that all, just on and on and on. The
Yeah.
the best advice I can give to anybody, if new or old, is to find your voice and to believe in it and write and just keep writing. My routine is not unlike a lot of other people. I get up early in the morning. I have my beagle beside me as my muse. I write 1,000 words, and then the next day I edit the 1,000 words and write another 1,000 words, and just keep going until it's done.
And as far as the business side of things, because I know a lot of authors really struggle from going from the creative side to the business side about marketing and trying to find an agent and trying to find a publisher. Is there any like specific advice that you would give in that area?
Well, find someone who can teach you how to write a query letter. The query letter is the key.
Yeah,
Uh, if your query letter isn't right, you're going nowhere. Even if your book is wonderful, because no one will ever read it if they don't get past if you don't have a good query letter.
yeah.
There, I happen to belong to a group. I don't know whether I should mention the name, uh, but it's a. If you're on Facebook, I don't think you can avoid uh, this group. I ignored them for 4 or 5 years, and just recently uh, decided to join them. And after 5 weeks with them, I have a query letter. I have a new book that I'm working on called The
Okay.
Water Detective. And I sent out my first 10 queries today using the query letter that they helped me write.
Oh,
And within an hour, I had a request for a full manuscript.
oh my goodness. That's
So,
amazing. That's wonderful.
yeah, so
Congratulations.
thank you. Well, still a long way to go, but
Yeah.
and a lot of agents to talk to, but really that advice, if you can get the query letter right, you're golden.
Yes, that's definitely for sure because that's your introduction. That's your introduction for the book. And
Right.
sometimes
Right.
that's definitely harder to write than the book. Sometimes.
Well, yeah, yeah. My Achilles heel is the synopsis.
Yes.
Try as they might, I hate that. I just hate it. I think there'd be if somebody wants to start a business writing synopses, I'm sure there'd be a millionaire in a year.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. That's a thought. Oh, so you said that you're working on this new book. Is it part of the same series or is this something new?
No, no, it's a new series,
Okay.
and I'm looking for a new publisher. My current publisher is fine; they do a wonderful job, but they're a small publisher. They have
Mhm.
limited resources, and they don't offer advances. So I'm hoping to take the Water Detective up a notch and
Yeah.
to a traditional publisher and who offers advances.
Right. Right.
And
That
it is,
that's
it's a new series that would be set in my hometown of Berkeley Springs, West Virginia.
okay. Well, that's fascinating. Well, we wish you much success on that. You're like and we're really excited about the second book in Barnum's Angel as well. You'll have to submit that one as well, because I'm sure that, with your past history, that hopefully you'd get another award with that one. We would love for you to submit that one as well. But as far as
I'll definitely do that.
As far as the is there somewhere, can you tell our listeners a little bit about where people can find you and where they can, do you have a website and where they can find your books?
Right. My books are all available on Amazon, and I do have a website, which is lenboswellauthor.com.
Okay, so we'll be sure and post that link on the screen, and we'll make sure, and whenever we post this on YouTube, that we'll have all the information that people can go and find you and your books. So do you have any events coming up about where people might could come and get a book signed?
No, I don't. I live in West Virginia. My little town of Berkeley Springs doesn't even have a bookstore.
Oh.
And the library won't carry my books.
Oh.
Because they don't want to carry books by local authors.
Well, that's really odd.
I have to I have to drive 100 miles to find a bookstore.
Okay. Well, like I said, we wish you much success on all of this, and we really appreciate you being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us. We will be sure and put up Mr. Boswell's links for his website and where you can find his books on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, this is Dee Marley with the History Bards podcast. Keep making history and keep listening.